Hi, welcome back from spring break. I thought I would start us off with another STEM about osmosis. Osmosis you're going to be learning a lot about as you go into higher and higher science. The basic thing I want you to know about osmosis is that it is when liquid water goes across the membrane. And basically, we're going to see how that works, but basically that water has to go across to have the solution be equal, so that there's a same amount of concentration of water outside of the membrane as there is inside. Might seem a little hard to understand, but I'm hoping that what we're doing today is going to help you a little bit better to see that. This is a fun science thing, no matter what, even if at the end you're like, osmosis what? But it's osmosis. So you're learning something now that you're going to hear about later, and my hope is that you're going to remember this then when you hear osmosis. So what I've done is I have taken a gummy bear, and boys and girls, what I have with osmosis is that if the cell wall or the membrane around it will allow water or things to penetrate, then it will allow water in or water out. So I have taken a gummy bear and I put it in just regular water. This is an hour later. So I want you to see how much that gummy bear has absorbed extra water. Next, this is in salt water. Now salt water, the high solution, it still took in some of the water, but if you notice, and we always keep, for our science, we always keep a constant, which is our gummy bear that wasn't in any water. If you notice, it changed colors, it didn't really change size. And then I did one in sugar water. Now sugar water, because there's sugar in this gummy bear, I kind of expected to see this. You notice that it did get larger, but not quite as large as just plain water. That's kind of, I expected this. This was expected. I did this for over 6 hours, and look, I want you to look at this gummy that was in the water, starting to fall apart. Look at that. It is huge. Do you see that gummy? Oh my goodness. That gummy doesn't look anything like our gummy when it started out, our gummy bear. This is our saltwater gummy that's been in there for 6 hours. Quite a difference. Look at that. It actually shrunk. Some of the liquid out of the gummy bear went into the salt solution. And then with our sugar water gummy, it has become a mass that we can't even tell what it is. It's like a big block. So you can see how, depending on what type of water we used, with regular water, it kept its shape. With sugar water, I mean, look at that. It just totally tried to fill up my cup. I think if we used bigger cups, we might have had the same size of the gummy, but this is a cool way for you to see how osmosis works, which is gonna bring us into the next thing that I did. Okay, the next part, the reason why I did the gummy bear, so you can understand a little bit about how the water wants to either come into something through the membrane or escape out. What we saw is water coming in on 2 of our gummy bears with the water and sugar water, and actually some of the water or the moisture being pulled out of the gummy bear with the salt. What we're gonna do is take an egg. Now at your house, it's only gonna take 1 egg. In my house, it's taken 5 eggs because I've had to do each egg at each stage so you can see what happens. So I'm thankful to have this sent to you because I've had eggs and different processes in my house for probably over a week now. So you start with 1 egg and you put it in vinegar. Now we've been doing a lot with vinegar, but you've noticed we've used baking soda. It is an acid, and so it's going to react with this egg, and I'm going to have Janiyah come up and show you the top. You're going to see those little bubbles forming on the top because this egg is made of calcium. Actually, calcium carbonate is on the egg, and this vinegar is going to eat away at that shell. You see the little bubbles already. It's doing its job. In about 2 days, that shell will be eaten off. We can learn lots about this. We can learn that just like an acid that you might find in a citrus juice, like orange juice or lemons or limes, that acid can actually eat away at your teeth. That's why it's so important to go to the dentist, take very good care of your teeth, and drink with straws when you're using things that have acid in them. So this shows you how that vinegar is going to change our egg. It took our egg and turned it into what we see now. This egg has no shell. And it's really hard to see, but if you're at home, you can move it around. There's the egg yolk is still in there. And I don't know that she can catch it on the camera, but what you can catch on camera is how this egg can now bounce. This is that cell membrane. This is that membrane I was talking about. So the shell has been removed, and now we just have a membrane. So the vinegar took off the shell and caused us to have a bouncy rubber egg. Many of you may have seen this. I have as well. The next thing you do, okay, so now we're gonna go to where I took the egg once it's been in the vinegar and the shell is gone, and I put it in corn syrup. Now corn syrup doesn't have as much water in it, so guess what happens? The liquid from the egg, the water, the vinegar, the albumin that's inside, I should have not said water, it's the white part of the egg, it's liquidy. It starts to come out in the corn syrup, and you have to pour it out each day. This takes about 3 days. You might could leave it longer and have yours be smaller, but I really wanted to do this experiment with you when you came back from school. So what we have, boys and girls, is we still have this membrane that was around the egg that would protect a little baby if it was in there, and the yolk is in there. If you learn anything about chickens, you know the yolk is really the food for the baby. So the membrane is intact, and inside is the yolk, but we don't have much liquid around it. In fact, if you have this at home, your yolk is actually hard. I don't want to push and break it because I don't want to get it all over me, but it is amazing that we can see that clearly through this membrane. So the next thing I did, this is amazing, I put it back in water. So we know that there's not much moisture inside of this egg now. I put it back in water, but colored water. Only took a day. And this is what we have. We have an egg that looks very much like it started. This is a little larger. However, maybe the egg we started with was a little bigger. You know, I can't save the exact same egg. But here is the egg. And I want to stop here and show you how cool this is and tell you to try it at home. But Janiyah really wants to break this egg. And I thought especially you boys out there, and those of you interested in science, you might really want to see this as well. Now remember, the white part, the albumin, when you cook eggs and it cooks up in your scrambled eggs, that part's out of here. It's full of just colored water, which I've colored blue. But that yolk should still be in there. So we're going to take it outside, and I'm just going to let you know that my neighbors are doing yard work, but we're going to see what's inside of this egg. Okay, so here we are outside so we can break this egg because Janiyah wants to see, and all of you inquiring minds at home want to see, and I'm kind of grossed out by it. So here we go, Janiyah. 3, 2, 1. Ugh. Okay, if you notice, our egg, there's still some albumin in this one, but the egg, oh my goodness, it is still very thick, the egg yolk. Look how thick that is. And look at our membrane. Look at that. The albumin, if you ever notice about egg whites, most of this is water. There's a little bit left in there. It's super thick, and that egg yolk all over my fingers. I'm glad I'm outside. It's thicker than it would have been in the beginning, but it's a little bit thinner. Water has gone in it since I checked it the last time. And the membrane, wow, completely color blue. I just want to say that as we saw this egg bring things in and release things, that's much like us in our lives. We have things that come into our mind, the things we see, the music we listen to, the books that we read. I want you to understand that we need to have protection, and God gives us that. Ephesians 6 talks about the armor of God and how we should have the helmet of salvation. There's things about the shoes of peace. There's things about the breastplate of righteousness, many parts of the armor of God. But the helmet of salvation is what's going to protect what comes in and out of our minds. So be sure the things that you're putting in are good for you. Because much like this egg absorbed things that the environment that was in, the environment that the egg was in, it absorbed things in, so are you. So only surround yourself with things that are God honoring. And the things that come out of you. Listen, when you're under pressure, the real you comes out. In this egg, the things that made up the egg are what came out of the egg. For you, I want you to think about that. Think about as you're at home right now, maybe getting frustrated about doing schoolwork. Maybe you're having frustration because things are just different. It's okay to have those feelings, but be sure that when you're saying something, like if you say to your mom and she asks you to do something and you say, okay, Mom, that's being respectful. But you could also have a tone that's not very respectful. Okay, Mom. So I want you to intone, in word, in deed, or in action, to have things that are God-honoring coming out of your life, and honor God in every season. So remember that, and remember to put on the armor of God, and try this trick. Try this thing with the egg. It really is cool to watch. Bye.